Hola, buenos días. Jorge, muchas gracias por la introducción. Gracias a Seguip y a DPL por la producción de este evento. Estamos aquí para mostrarles el Columbus Hall de Huawei. Vamos a hacer una visita virtual al espacio que está destinado por Huawei para demostrar la innovación en esta transformación digital. Cómo los operadores de telecomunicaciones están soportando la transformación digital y cuáles son
digital transformation and what are the new elements that need to be taken into account to do things in a successful manner. We will also see multi-cloud environments, systems of collaboration, and in this very short tour that I'm going to give you, I will show you in 3 parts of the things that we need to change within the current networks to support digital transformation. My name is Joaquín Saldaña, and welcome to this virtual tour of the Columbus Hall. So let's go to our first scenario. We'll speak of digitization, which is apparently a thing in vogue, but it's actually a trend, a business trend, that into which many of the companies are recurring to. And the investment in these processes of transformation happened at an 80% of the companies. That is, that they are accelerating their reach towards this digital or arrival towards this digital transformation. What exactly does this mean in the face of businesses, and what impact will this have in current businesses? This transformation happens in processes of businesses that were usually translated easily towards a cloud or digital or digitized environments. We have a whole lot of examples, a wide breadth of examples, like a CDR, for instance, of the productivity tools of certain companies. These are communication systems, like, for instance, a video conference, which in this year and a half have become a thing of a day-to-day basis. And we are making use of these technologies often. They are helping us in transforming, in providing more efficiency to the companies, and to helping them with these channels. However, many of the industries are now taking their critical business processes to these new digital environments that are critical in their businesses, that cannot have a backlog in communications or any form of loss. Let's use an example of this video conferences that we're participating in. And we'd say that we would have a delay or that we lose some form of continuity. There will be no problem because we can continue to move forward. But a process of manufacturing that is continuous cannot afford to have that. And therefore, the moment in which these processes become a part of this new digital shift, they require a network of communications that would allow them to support that shift. And there are 3 axioms that we need to have in mind for these 3 networks. First off, access by demand, a capability of such a birth in which they can implement things effectively so that you can have a good speed in providing your services. And I believe we are advancing quite a bit, and we have an infrastructure that is succinct and robust with most operators in which this is achievable. 2, networks with the behaviors that are deterministic in nature. What does that mean? What does that mean traditionally or initially? Well, the internet services and telecommunication services, as you might remember, were created under the philosophy of most work done or better effort. Let's say that we would have a delay in this conversation, nothing would actually come out of it, but for a critical business aspect in picture and operation, maybe surgery, or maybe a continuous manufacturing process, you would require, forcibly so, SNLs that are guaranteed, SALs that truly provide the final user the certainty that we will be able to control a determined process. And as a characteristic of these new environments, we need multi-cloud environments in and of themselves. Many companies, and this is quite common, to have access to multiple suppliers of cloud services. And I'm just going to point out the most famous that have their ERP connected to cloud, which would be come from the same SAP or any financial system company, like for instance Oracle, or they have internal systems like Huawei Cloud and AWS can have their SRMs with Salesforce. So they become in a multi-cloud environment in which the stewardship of interconnection of can be complicated, or we need to facilitate it so or make it easier for use so that it actually becomes open and transparent for companies. If we were to move operations with these three characteristics in mind, we will be able to speed up this migration of critical processes of business towards new digitized environments. Now we'll talk about a little bit about what does this solution on multi-cloud environments mean. Well, what do I refer to when I say habilitating or enabling a platform for multi-cloud services? What we see on this side is the schematics of the typical configuration that you would see in a company to communicate with their multiple cloud providers. As we said before, the world has many cloud providers. There won't be a single one that will solve problems for everybody. That does not exist. However, if we were to believe that this configuration of connectivity is sustainable, then we are unfortunately sorely mistaken. We don't have control of the service levels that would guarantee adequate latency, adequate time of response, availability, suitable ability to reach these providers. And as we mentioned before, if we thought that critical business aspects could be migrating to these areas, we would actually need to move towards a cloud configuration that is more agile, that is more controllable, and that can actually guarantee levels of service and availability and latency and speed that are suitable. What we are proposing then is to make the shift so that companies can have a one-stop shop window, one-stop service that is transparent as to how cloud providers reach it and those that will come to us as well. Why? Because this, as I can ascertain, will continue to grow. And what exactly does that mean for operators at large? It means that they are being given a new opportunity to renew themselves. We will reconfigure the network in order to guarantee these types of access. Yes, that is true. That will generate in turn better profitability, but also opens up windows to provide additional services based in these new environments in order to participate in these ecosystems and access more sources of income. And an additional source of income that we need to take into account is the trend of edge computing. That is actually incoming. Edge computing, as understood as a capability of computational skills that is close to that of the event in which things are actually happening. This means that it could happen within the actual terrain or location of a company, or at least nearby. in a scheme that is shared by many companies. So let's think of a manufacturing company in which this company has their devices, their edge devices, control them through a private network. They can access them, but they could also use this other type of configuration and log in through a public 5G network with a certain slice and access their edge system. Now let's think of an industrial park in which we have edge computing that is being shared for that industrial park, in which all companies have access to within the park, to shared resources of edge resources that become or can be accessed to as an addendum element of this configuration. So it's not only going into cloud, but also preparing our environment to the edge computing that is going to be a reality and is actually a reality now for many industrial environments. After these concepts, now we are going to talk about what is the strategy by Huawei to cooperate towards this transition that will accelerate the digital shift. Now let's talk about the strategy to truly achieve these concepts we've been talking about. And Huawei has developed a strategy called NetX 2025, the objective of which is to build upon these capabilities that the new telecommunications network need and to help them in moving from what is currently a thing to what we will need in this new digital transformation, in this new digital shift. And this is what we have developed, as we have seen before. After many years of working together, we have developed what we call a guide paper with our acronym, which is GUIDE. What does GUIDE mean? We need to help and guide the operators in building networks that will provide us gigabytes everywhere. We must provide access to gigabyte speeds wherever. The U that is also very important, which means automation. As we were saying before, that for companies, we need controlled access and a multi-cloud environment that will allow them for an efficient stewardship with this ALS and all that jazz. What we need for the operator, it is fundamental to have ultra automation that will help us in controlling and reducing the entirety and maintenance of the network. This is a fundamental aspect of it all. And to create an environment that is also multi-cloud in nature, but smart too. And that we have already discussed about. So the D is for a differentiated experience of the users. And this is quite the key aspect because now with the capabilities by 5G, we can have those slices of information to help each and every single client and provide them with a different, or better said, differentiated experience. Like that is to give them the SLA of critical mission to the services of critical applications, a way in which they can access a standard service, no, for it to be standardized too, and that is important too for the administration and stewardship of all these aspects. And the E, which is also very important for Huawei, and that is the philosophy that we have applied over the past few years, which is environmentally friendly, harmonious with the environment, environmental harmony, as it were. This, which is a concept that will help us in the transition towards these networks we have defined that in a white paper on Guide NetEx 2025. With this, it marks the end of this journey of this hall in which I have shown you just the three parts of what we are doing at Huawei, because I don't want to go into the technicalities or specific use cases from which we have many examples of, by the way. But I do want to exhort you uh, to talk to our collaborators in Huawei, in Mexico, or wherever you're watching us from. That way, we can have access, total access to the content of this Columbus Hall and visit it whenever possible and see directly firsthand what we are, everything that I shared with you today. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. I go back to you, Jorge, and please carry on.